And David 808,
This is Two Pastors
Popcorn.
and a Movie. Welcome to Two Pastors, Popcorn and a Movie podcast. I'm David 503,
And I'm David 808.
and welcome to our latest episode. We are interviewing director David Cunningham, who has directed a special broadcast. It's going to be next Tuesday, December 9th on ABC called Kevin Costner Presents the First Christmas. And I want to welcome David to the podcast. Welcome, David, or aloha from the mainland. I understand you're on Big Island today, and I want to welcome you to the podcast.
Thank you much. We got three Davids here. Not much of an imagination our parents had, I guess.
Yeah, we won't hopefully not get confused there. Hey, we want to start out. I know we need to keep this about the project, but we always start out with a softball question asking our guest, when you go to the movies, what's your favorite go-to popcorn that helps enhance the movie-going experience for you as an individual, as a family? What's your go-to popcorn, David?
Well, here in Hawaii, as David knows, there's something called mochi crunch, and it's like furikake,
Ah,
And so I like to go get a big thing of popcorn, get the boxes, dump them in there, and then mix it with the mochi crunch, and uh,
ah,
and then you get that extra little flair to it. So I
nice, nice. I have to say that every time we ask somebody, we get a unique answer. The last time it was salt and vinegar from somebody from Cape Town, and your answer is definitely unique as well. Well, let's dive right into the subject of Kevin Costner presents the First Christmas. Um, what inspired the creation of this show to want to tell it and on the platform that it's going to be on ABC?
I guess the origin story is a couple years ago. Mark Pierce and Mark is one of the creators and executive producers, were kicking around the concept of, basically the Christ in Christmas. Like, wouldn't we be great to kind of just go back and unpack what this is all about and show it from an authentic, unvarnished perspective that honors the scripture, that maybe unpacks things that modern interpretation has heaped on top of the story that isn't accurate, um, and to celebrate the birth of the Son of God. And when Kevin's name came up and he committed, we were just over the moon, and that fast tracked the project. So we are literally just finishing this thing this morning before I was on with you. We're just wrapping things up and handing it over. So it's been a sprint this year
Hmm.
making this, but an absolute joy and privilege to be a part of it.
It is
Good.
really amazing. And, although the story is 2,000 years old, it's still captivating. Why do you think that is, that it's captivating with not just believers, but unbelievers as well?
Well, I think, when you step back and you go, wait a minute, Son of God, God chose this young couple, and he's going to come through this young couple, and then they've got to take care of this baby in this terrible time of oppression and bloodshed. And I just found that aspect as I was diving into it from a screenwriting and directing standpoint, constantly putting myself in their sandals, so to speak, and going, whoa, what would have that been like? And what would it have been like for Mary to go tell her parents, guess what? I'm pregnant with the Son of God,
Hmm.
and I'm still a virgin, and just all of those key moments that I think we kind of gloss over because it's one of the it's a tradition, and it's a holiday that we just kind of blow through. And I think we just kind of got to stop and go, wait, wait, wait. Let's back up. And for me, one of the things that really struck me as I was kind of chewing on all of this was the God that I know and serve and love. I bet he would want his parents to be in love. I bet that he would want a family, not of babysitters, but actual husband and wife that loved one another. And I hadn't really seen that portrayed before. Usually Joseph's super stoic and is almost obligated, you know. And
Right.
and I was just like, that's not the God I serve. I bet it was different than that, you know? So
Yeah,
that's
that's one
something.
thing I liked about your presentation was bringing Joseph more into the story because he tends to be kind of in the back shadows typically in what we've seen, which brings me to what really sets apart this presentation of the story differently than what people have seen or what we've seen in the past.
I think the youthfulness of this couple.
They say Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year. A chance for families to gather together and celebrate the amazing story of a newborn king.
Of course, we don't know exactly, but it's most likely they were quite young. And I think just that factor alone of what it's like for a young couple to take on the world in any circumstance, let alone the Son of God. And then just taking away some of the extra things that have been added on. Like there's facts that are kind of harmless in our modern take, but I think it's important for us to recognize things like the wise men or the magi showing up more like 2 years later. They weren't there at the birth. They came at another time in a period of time, and understanding really the antagonist of who Herod was, demonic, you know, frankly, and being used to the enemy to try to stop this thing. So just going back and just kind of looking at it and peeling back any kind of varnishing and letting the smoke and the dust and the goats and the camels and all of that going, wow, what would it have been like back then in this world? And it's not as sanitized and it's not as clean and cozy as we like to put it. So I think that's part of it. But really at the bottom line is I hope the gospel, I hope the character of God comes through the story, and that as a believer, I hope your faith is renewed. If you're not a believer, I hope you can consider, just from a historical standpoint, the origins of this holiday, and hopefully, yeah, get people thinking and wanting to pursue themselves.
So, as the director, what was your creative vision for capturing the emotional depth of Mary and Joseph's story?
I think it's what I mentioned. I think it's the love factor,
Okay.
and that they loved each other. Nazareth was only a couple hundred people. And so if they both grew up there, they could have been childhood friends. Of course, we don't know, but that makes sense that they grew up in this backwater of the Roman Empire together. And so I think that that understanding and that perspective really starts bringing us more to life. Um, and then what was happening in the world around them during that time. You know, these people claiming to be the Messiah, trying to overthrow Rome,
Mhm.
being so brutal, all the different factors that were happening around them. It was a complicated time,
Yeah.
and this young couple had to navigate through all of that.
So, as I was following you on social media, I think it was this summer you were in Morocco, which is where you shot, correct? Much of this.
Yeah, we had an amazing time out there, and there's so many amazing sets. It's the second time for me to be able to film out there. I love Morocco, and we were able to go and use sets that Ridley Scott built for Kingdom of Heaven or Gladiator, and we were able to use a lot of the same cast and crew, well, yeah, extras and so on. And they've been making Bible movies there in a little town called Ouarzazate for decades. And so it's just amazing. You go there and they're like, even though there's a Muslim culture around everything, they have respect for the Bible and respect for these shows. And they're like, do you need an upper room? We have an upper room. Like, no, no, different period of time. Okay, we have, hey, do you need a Herod's Palace? Yeah, actually, we need Herod's Palace. Okay, we
Yeah.
have that over here.
Uh,
And then, we have some crucifixions in the show, and I was checking on some of the guys that were being crucified, and because it's hot, and we shot in the summer in Morocco, which was pretty intense. And I'm like, hey, are you okay up there? There was a Moroccan guy. He goes, oh yeah, I've been crucified before, no problem. So they just were amazing people, and the
yeah.
production company that served us, Oz Films, was just amazing. So yeah, it was quite the adventure, um, but I loved every minute of it.
There were some emotional times. Just circling back to, were there some specific scenes? I mean, you've grown up in the church, and so you've heard the story, but in this experience with you, were there specific scenes that especially were meaningful or emotional for you personally that kind of like elevated the story?
Oh man, so many. Well, I guess the first one that pops in my mind with that question, David, is the perspective through the shepherds, and
Uh,
the that God chose to give the light show, this epic light show of all these angels showing up, to the shepherds, you
yeah,
know? And it's just speaks to the character of God, and how he would come to the lowliest, and and then they come and honor him. And so we had some great actors that were playing those parts, and I just felt personally the reverence, enter the set there for that scene. So that was really special. Yeah. So there was so many of those, the birth, and even just the Magi, though that whole story that God would compel this foreign people from so far away to come and bear witness. And that just is another aspect of the character of God that is so beautiful, that whatever you believe, he's there. And when you're ready, he's welcoming you. And I just love that.
We want to say special thank you to our sponsors and supporters. Flip your day in 2 scoops of Flip 7, the ultimate all-in-one superfood reset. Click the link in the show notes and use the code OMGREN10 to receive 10% off on your online purchases. Find out more by going to flipmylifenow.com. Also, thank you to snowcreekmeadows.com for handmade goat milk soaps and lotions. BeKing.com is your site for honey dust and other sugar substitutes. It's perfect for putting on popcorn. And speaking of popcorn, IslandPopper.com will provide you with gourmet popcorn. Great for watching your favorite movie. Get 10% off on all these online purchases by using the passcode 2pastors. That's the number 2 and the word pastors. Also, a special thank you to kidsmatter.com. Sign up now for their next conference. It's the perfect place to get ideas and energy for you or your youth and children's ministry team. It is so well done. I was going to say that the scenery and everything is a character in itself because it's done so well. But when I first saw this, I was like, Kevin Costner? Okay, what's this about? And it really dives into what the nativity story is, not just the little scene that we see every Christmas, but it gives the background. And it's a unique approach that here's Kevin sharing about his own personal life. Can you kind of explain his approach to guiding viewers through this story?
That was Kevin. He wanted to tell his perspective as a kid. He grew up in the church, in the Baptist church, and that's his roots. And I think he's come full circle.
Whether you're a believer or just curious about the tradition, journey back with me, Kevin Costner, for the story of the first Christmas like you've never seen it before. The First Christmas, Tuesday on ABC.
So that
Amazing.
was important to him, that he be able to share his perspective, and it was genuine and real, and
Yeah.
we were thrilled to be a part of it.
Yeah, it came through the screen, and it was more than just him regurgitating lines. He really brought in personal experience, which made it more meaningful as I was watching it and hearing his personal touch to it. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, those are his words. So we're
Yeah,
honored to be able to
you had
say,
experts on there as well. And I was like, wait, Francis Chan is here? And so you're really listening intently to what's going on.
yeah, we really wanted to get different perspectives because, of course, people have different interpretations, and that's good. And we wanted to honor that. We didn't want to be trying to put a spin on something. We weren't trying to be cynical or like, did this really happen or anything. It was like, no, we believe every word of this, and let's get some different perspectives on what we can learn. And so we have a Francis Chan, and we've got a Catholic priest, and understanding their perspective as well. And it's all coming from a point of reverence. And I think that the key for me was navigating what unifies us, you know, and that's can be boiled down to God loves us and He sent His Son, and
yeah.
let's learn together what that means.
Hey, with regards to perspective, and we talked a little bit about you talked a little bit about Kevin, but were there any moments or in the production where you're like it was unexpected insight or direction that Kevin brought to the table, and you're like, wow, that is good. Were there any of those moments?
Well, from a craft standpoint, I mean, the guy's Academy Award winning director, actor. So I was just, over the moon to be able to work with him. So, and was taking note, as much as I possibly could. But I guess from a heart piece, it was his just unapologetic commitment to say Jesus is in his life and he recognizes that God's been with him, and those are his words, not mine. And so I got to be careful not to represent him. But what I encourage your listeners to do is to watch the show and hear Kevin say it himself. Um, but there was I think that was just so affirming. Is what's genuine, and what's words, and I think you can't be around the Bible, the gospel, and these stories without being touched in some way. It's just
Yeah,
I have a very simple formula. I've been making shows for 30 years, and I've been for a long time in Hollywood just saying, hey guys, there's just two things you need to do if it's about the Bible. Get somebody that actually believes it's true and stick to the text, and it will go well with you. And it for whatever reason. I mean, you're a movie maker, David. You know what I'm talking about. It's just like, no, don't like take a spin on this. Just let it live. And for whatever
absolutely.
reason, we won't mess with Shakespeare, but we have freedom to mess with the Bible. And
Right.
so our goal and our hope was to honor the original text.
I feel like there's still a need for people to understand the true meaning of Christmas. And what's your hope for this show?
I think it's pretty basic. It's the reason for the season. It's the Christ in Christmas. And I know all that sounds cliche, but that's really what it's about. And let's bring it back down, and let's remember what Christ's values were and are today. Championing the disenfranchised, humility, forgiveness. These are all beautiful, beautiful things, whatever you believe in, whether you're a person of faith or not. It's a great way to live your life. And so I think as we remind ourselves about Christmas, it's not about commercialism, and it's not about, other things. It's about that core. And when families gather together, I trust that they can reflect on the original reason why we celebrate this.
We know your history of making movies, and Kevin, you know, a great storyteller as well. So it's not lost on us that you guys are doing this from a labor of love. It's not for money. This is so that you can get the message out. for, the importance of the story behind or the reason for the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't tell any of my coworkers this, but I would have gladly done this for free. And Kevin is lacking no opportunity. So it
Yes.
it it truly has been a privilege to be able to do this, a real dream come true. And we're just trusting that the Lord will use it. And so we do appreciate you spreading the word about it. And can I share a little bit about, can I do a little plug on where to watch it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll bring our time to close with that.
But 7, 8 Central Tuesday on ABC and the next day on Hulu and Disney Plus.
All right. And I watched it, really enjoyed it, really enjoyed the Kevin Costner's piece, as I said before, and how he personalized it. And I think that drew me in. I think it'll draw audiences in as well to hear not just lines on a page, but from his heart. So well done. It was shot beautifully. Just loved the sets. I love you dove into Herod a little bit more than I'd seen in the past. So kind of showed us the contrast and the plight that Mary and Joseph were in. And then I loved how you finished it. You just didn't tell the story about a baby was born, the end. It was a baby was born, and here was the reason. And Kevin ends up the end of it is at the tomb and the resurrection, and that's the whole reason for the story. So I loved how you really brought that together, David, and
Thank you.
presented the totality of the story, and not just leaving. Of course, we can learn about the rest of it. Easter's coming, but it's nice that you encompassed that all within this particular presentation.
Thank
So
you.
yeah,
Thanks for your
thank you.
encouraging words.
You bet. Thanks for being on the podcast today. And again, for our listeners, Kevin Costner presents The First Christmas on ABC next Tuesday, December 9th, 8, 7 Central. I think it's 2 hours, correct?
Yes.
From 8, 2 hours. And then following day, it'll be on Hulu and Disney Plus. So if you miss it Tuesday night, you get an opportunity to see it on those other platforms. Thanks for joining us for Two Pastors, Popcorn, and a Movie.
We enjoy talking about movies and shows that are coming to a theater and or streaming.
We'll be back next time with more incredible interviews and movie news.
And amazing information.
Popcorn. Want some more popcorn?
I would love some more popcorn.
Take some more popcorn.
Yeah, let's go get some more popcorn.
Okay, we'll see you later.